Yes, good evening and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Monday evening slash night. For those of you that are joining us, depending on wherever it is that you're joining us from, it's a pleasure to be here with you once again, and I do look forward to your extensive engagement in as far as this broadcast goes. I hope all of you do get to join the channel and the broadcast, and we discuss what there is that the latest it is from the world of football. Um, for all our new subscribers, thank you so much for joining the community. It's a pleasure to have you join us. We do look forward to entertaining you, to keeping you informed, and also engaging with you in our respective forums under the comment section. These days we have guest posts. But as we speak, I also want to say thank you so much to all our new subscribers, those of you that have recently joined the channel. We are now at 2,500 subscribers. So thank you so much for every single one of you that has subscribed to the channel in the recent couple of days. Your love and support is not taken for granted. We do appreciate you a great deal. And we hope that you carry on with the same spirit, that you keep supporting what we do, that you keep loving what we do, that you keep engaging with us. For our usual suspects, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Team India. For our irregular suspects, we do say thank you as well for managing to spare whatever little time it is that you can spare to chat with us. Tonight, we'll be looking at why Arsenal fans shouldn't be worried about the absence of Gabriel Magahlaes, why they shouldn't be too worried about Gabriel Magahlaes. We'll be discussing that and more. But also, we will be talking about the World Cup under-17 that is ongoing over there in Qatar, with the round of 16 ties set to happen tomorrow. So we'll be discussing that in the course of this particular broadcast. So endeavor to join us and participate in the conversation that we do have tonight. But before I go any further, allow me have our audios tested, make sure everything does check out before we proceed any further. It's only human. Sometimes I also, kind of tend, almost forget that I have to do the routine of having our audios tested, just to be sure. But I think we're good to go. I think we're good. It all looks good. So yeah, we'll be talking about the World Cup under-17. We'll be talking about Gabriel Magahlaes and the implications, but also more importantly, why Arsenal fans shouldn't be really worried about him. So, like I said, that will be the gist of the conversation, among any other things that may arise in the context of this particular broadcast. For those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. I hope our comments are already turned on, that we're not missing out on anything. We know YouTube tends to filter out some of the content depending on how it may see fit. Sometimes we may not agree with them. We may not see eye to eye on that regard, but we hope that will be the case. Anyways, okay, like I said, let's start with the under-17 World Cup, because that one does get underway tomorrow. That's a Tuesday, the 18th of November. The round of 16, all fixtures are going to be played tomorrow, and I think we'll have to wait until possibly Friday before the quarterfinals. I can see, but before we get into that, we have a comment from somebody says, Saima Safa says hi. Hi Saima, where are you joining us from? Thank you so much, Team India, for loving us that much, for subscribing to the channel, for always engaging with us. Good to have you always. Now, Uganda will be up against Burkina Faso. That's the Uganda Cups. They will be up against Burkina Faso in the first in the first round of 16 game of the day that will kick off at a at a 3 p.m. East African time, or 15:30 hours in the 24-hour clock. At the same kickoff time, Italy will be up against Uzbekistan, so do not miss out on that fixture. I'm hoping that I will find time to catch that game for the Uganda Cubs. And then 30 minutes later, we'll have Mexico take on Portugal. That will be at 4 p.m. East African time. And then 30 minutes later, at 4:30 p.m., Brazil will be up against France. I think possibly these are two of the biggest games of this phase. And I say biggest by pedigree of their respective nations, not by the existing teams that are actually playing, So, and then at 5:45 p.m., Switzerland will be up against Ireland, while at 6:15 p.m., North Korea will take on Japan, and then at 6:45 p.m., Austria will be up against England, while Morocco will be up against Mali. So as you can see, we still have only 4 African teams that are left in the tournament, and whatever happens tomorrow, we will have 2 African teams progress to the round of 8 or the quarterfinals, because Uganda are up against Burkina Faso. Those are 2 African teams. Burkina Faso coming from western part of Africa, while Uganda, where I am from, where I'm joining you live from, do come from the eastern part of Africa. Morocco do come from the northwest part of Africa. They're neighbors with the likes of Portugal and Spain over the other side, and then Mali from West Africa. So those are the 4 countries from Africa that are still part of the World Cup Under-17, for those of you that are interested in knowing. Now, particularly, we will look at the game between Uganda and Burkina Faso for selfish interests, nothing more than that. Hi ho, Aston Villa. Ali says Ali is an Aston Villa fan. Hi, Ali. Good to have you on the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. And we will engage. But thank you, Ali, for being part of us this evening. So, like I said, there's no pedigree to the context of the fixture. What both teams do bring to the table is that they've managed to carry themselves through up until this stage. We're talking about a Burkina Faso side that that is a very strong team. Most of these African teams are really, really strong. Uganda Cubs or Uganda have 2 players, I think, that already play in the top flight in Walosimbi and Ijara, who plays for KCCA. So really, it's impressive to watch. We know that Uganda have made their own amendments in terms of the starting 11, the goalkeeper, who was the man of the match in the round of 32, as Uganda knocked out Senegal by 1-0. That was Diarra, sorry, not Diarra. I mispronounced his name. Sorry for the mispronunciation of his name. Idrissa Waibi, yes. Idrissa Waibi was a standout performer on that day. He's not the guy that started in the first game. I think it was Adrian Mukwanga who started in the game against Canada, in which Uganda got beat by 2-1, with Canada coming off from behind to score 2 goals in the last 10 minutes of the game to ensure that they walked away with all 3 points. Then, because of a yellow card to the striker James Bogere, this one features for Sunshine, as well as being an academy graduate of El Cambio. That's the football academy that is based in central Uganda, in a district called Masaka, or Masaka City, as you may define it. So I thought, I think he will be a very, very huge miss. He will be a very huge miss in as far as leading the lines there for the under-17 is concerned. But I think the team will take solace in knowing that the likes of Jovan Mukisa, Steve Oiroth will be very, very integral in that backline. Hamza Sengova, Enoch Abagenda, Elvis Torach, Abu Bakari Walusimbi, the goal scorer from that sole goal that saw Uganda Cranes get past Senegal, Brian Jara, Isma Magala, and Arafat Nkola, Richard Okero, Richard Okero was by the stripped of the captaincy. In sort of a bit of a similar fashion, the way we had Alan Okero for the CHAN, for the African Nations Championships, when Uganda was, co-hosting that tournament, So I think expect a very, very physical game. Expect two teams to be very, very hardworking. Whoever works more will get the advantage over the other. I can see Katki ready says, hello, brother. How are you? I'm doing all right. I hope you are doing fine as well. How has been your Monday so far? Do let me know how your Monday has been. So, in the context of the qualifiers, for the round of 16 for the Under-17 World Cup, all I can say is that Burkina Faso is a team not to be underestimated. They knocked out Germany at the round of 32. Germany were the reigning champions of the tournament. So they did position themselves as a giant killer, So Uganda, I think Uganda will not... Reddy says, bad. Why has your Monday been bad? Bro, Virati Kohi? Is that Virati Kohli? Who is Virati Kohli? Kindly indulge me, please. That seems to be out of my depth, that seems to be out of my depth. But like I was saying, a single goal was enough for Burkina Faso to knock out Germany from the competition. But like I told you, Germany were the reigning champions. But because we cannot talk about pedigree, it's not the same teams every 2 years. Oftentimes, you'll have a different facet of players, So it's hard for you to sit here and say, this player and that player have experience playing in this tournament and that kind of thing. So practically, it's hard to know what to expect until you get to the actual game. But Uganda is one of those teams that have sort of grown into the competition following their defeat against Canada. They drew against Chile, they beat up against France, they beat up against Senegal, and now they take on Burkina Faso. So we'll have to wait and see what they bring to the table. Please search it, bro. Who is Virati Kohli? I'll do that after the broadcast. I'll take note of that and revert back to you. But thank you so much for your submission in that sense. Thank you so much for that. Anyways, let's quickly run away from the Under-17 World Cup and go to the gist of this conversation, and that has to do everything with Arsenal's Gabriel Magahlaes. It's a topic that we do revisit because it's made the rounds for all the right and wrong reasons, depending on which way you want to look at it or what side of the footballing aisle you stand. So we know that he suffered what appeared to be a groin injury or a muscular injury there. Reddy, I was honest with you the first time to tell you that I'm not very familiar with the game of cricket. I just know for a fact that India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, West Indies, are some of the best cricketing teams there is, or countries there is. And I know as a sport, it's more popular within India than football is, and probably in Pakistan. When you go to the UK, they are very, very good cricketers with the likes of Ben Stokes. When you come here on the continent, South Africa is one of the standout teams when it comes to the game of cricket. So forgive me if I do not know much about Virati Kohli, the Indian international cricketer, who is widely regarded as the greatest batsman there has ever been in the history of the game. So I can't speak much to it because my knowledge about cricket is very, very lean. But anyways, let's return back to the conversation regarding Gabriel Magahlaes. Now, Arsenal fans shouldn't be too worried about the absence of Gabriel Magahlaes. Now, I say that because I know I'm not trying to compare Ben Stokes to I'm not trying to compare the two in Ben Stokes and Virati. No, I was just citing for you a player that I know in the England cricket team. So that's all. It's not a comparison in any case. I wouldn't be naive to draw the comparison after acknowledging that I do not know much about the sport in itself. But I stand to be educated. So present me the facts. Do you know Cheteri? Ready? Do you know Cheteri? Anyways, so in the wake of the fact that Gabriel Magahlaes suffered that muscular injury, which appears to be a groin injury, Arsenal fans have been really, really worried, and they have been worried for the right reasons. Because one of their best players, one of their standout players, one of their most consistent players is out injured. One of their goal scorers, when it comes to set piece plays, their biggest threat, he's out injured. It's bound to be a concern. Every team has that spine. Riyadh says, I think Celtic and Rangers should join the Premier League. We're going to debate that in a bit. Let's first conclude with Gabriel Magahlaes. So every team has that spine. The way Manchester City have brought Erling Haaland is the same way you could say Arsenal have Gabriel Magahlaes. Haaland may be having more impact on his team as Manchester City, given the 14 goals he's already scored in this Premier League campaign, in the 11 games played. But I think I could put them in the same bracket. Haaland could be just a step ahead, but I could put them in the same bracket in terms of responsibility and impact for their respective teams. The difference is one is a defender, one is a striker. One is to score goals, another is to stop goals from going in. And given the number of clean sheets that Arsenal have managed to keep so far this season, I think 7 clean sheets in the opening 11 games, that's as good as literally Haaland's 14 goals in 11 games, So the impact or the importance of Gabriel Magahlaes cannot be overstated to this Arsenal team. We know what the importance is. We know what he adds to that, defense. We know he brings the leadership, qualities. We know he brings the experience. He is, he was the second defender that Mikel Arteta signed when he joined Arsenal. Remember, the first was Pablo Mari, who they signed from Flamengo. That was in January 2020. And then in the summer of 2020, that's when Gabriel Magahlaes joins. And we know the kind of stick he's had to go through, the kind of heat tunnel that he's had to walk through to get to the kind of defender that he is today, who is really, really appreciated across board. Whether you're an opponent, whether you're an Arsenal fan, whether you fall neither to or the sides, and you're just a neutral, I think you would agree that Gabriel Magahlaes is a very, very brilliant defender, if one of the very best that there is at the moment across European football and world football at large. So, because he's grown into that figure, he's become very, very influential in this Arsenal team. He's part of the leadership. He's part of the leadership composition within that Arsenal team. That leadership composition is inclusive of the captain, Martin Odegaard. It has Bukayo Saka. It has Gabriel Magahlaes. It has Declan Rice. And I think, who is the other? I'm trying to remember what the fifth name is. But, that's the cohort. That's the cohort of, a leadership that you do have within that Arsenal team. He's part of that. I think he's the third vice captain because I think Bukayo Saka is the vice captain. And then Gabriel Magahlaes comes in. So his importance when it comes to leadership on the pitch, his importance when it comes to the defending, his importance when it comes to team organization, his importance when they go to attack set pieces cannot be underestimated. They're as important as any influential player that you'd have in a team. When you look at a team like Sunderland, who find themselves fourth on the Premier League table after 11 games, Granit Xhaka, I think, is the most influential player. in that team, given his leadership qualities. When you go to a team like Brentford, Igor Thiago is one of those players that are very, very influential to how Brentford are going about things. When you look at a team like Chelsea, for Chelsea, you could sort of struggle to decide who the most influential player is, especially in the absence of Cole Palmer, because we know for the past 2 seasons, Cole Palmer has been the most influential Chelsea player. But present day, I think you could struggle to zero down on that single player. But the point is, that's how important Gabriel Magahlaes is to this Arsenal side, the way Bruno Fernandes is to Manchester United. Now, Arsenal fans are too worried, but I'm saying they shouldn't be too worried. Why should they not be too worried? This has nothing to do with the extent or the severity of the injury to Gabriel Magahlaes. Unfortunately, just like you and I do not know the extent of the injury. We know that the Brazilian national team did a scan, and that scan showed that he has a muscular injury right higher up his groin. And we know that he's set to return to Arsenal. And I think he will take a day or two, a couple of days rest. And then the Arsenal medical department will do their own scan to further assess the extent of the damage, that has been caused. Now, while we await to understand the magnitude or the length for which he could be out, whether short or long, we will have to wait. But while we wait, I'm saying Arsenal fans shouldn't be worried about his absence. Why? Because over the years, they have built themselves a squad that is capable of coping without some of their most influential players. I'm not saying they will be as good as a team that they would be with him in it, but they will be a very good team nonetheless, possibly better than still many, many teams. And here's why. They built that squad depth over a given period of time. And when you look around the Arsenal backline, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's no specialist in a particular role. When you look at that, Arsenal backline, when you look at Urian Timber, Ben White, these two predominantly play right back, but we know both of them come as centre backs. We know that Urian Timber can also play left back. When you look at Gabriel Magahlaes, William Saliba, the main centre backs, we know that Saliba can play, in both left-sided or right-sided of the centre back, but also at right back. When you look at a player like Ricardo Carafiori, signed prior to the start of last season, you look at that, he was in as far as Arsenal's defending is concerned, he was a statement signing, not by the size of his transfer fee, but by how highly he was rated around Italian football. So many giant Italian teams, Inter Milan, Juventus, AC Milan, all wanted to sign him. But it was Arsenal that won the race, again, to build that wall, to build that solidity. And I remember him speaking about his move to Arsenal, and he said he wanted a bigger challenge, a new challenge elsewhere, away from the comfort of being at home. And he thought, or he does think still, that challenge is within the Premier League, within a team that is playing Champions League football. But of course, he would have gotten Champions League football by a mere upgrade from one team to another within the Italian Serie A. But he wanted to take that test abroad, and he brought it to Arsenal. Now, his debut campaign with Arsenal was a bit turbulent, not by his performances, but by injuries. Oftentimes, he was in and out of the team through injury. Sometimes the injuries came from his return from the international break and things like that. So there's that. You look at a player like Pierre Hincap. This one is on loan from Bayer Leverkusen. The expectation is that Arsenal will be looking to make this deal permanent come next summer. Then you look at a player like Christian Mosquera, signed for a mere £13 million, quite a scoop from Valencia this summer. Only recently turned 21, a couple of months ago. When you look at Hincap, he's being played as a left back, but we know he's a left-sided centre back as well. When you look at Christian Mosquera, he can play across the back four, right back, right centre back, left centre back. He can play it all, Even if he's not been tried there, you can slot him at left back and he will get the job done. So when you look at the composition of those players for Arsenal in terms of the options that they do have at their disposal, for me, that's where I do stand to tell Arsenal fans that perhaps you shouldn't be too worried about the absence of Gabriel Magahlaes. Like I've told you, there are qualities within Gabriel Magahlaes that none of those centre backs may be able to bring to the table. Particularly two major qualities. One is the leadership. I think it's very, very crucial in that backline. Two is how he attacks set pieces. But when it comes to the defending, the actual art of defending, I think any of those, whether it's Piero Hincap, whether it's Christian Mosquera, whether it's Yurian Timber, whether it's Ricardo Carafiori, all those can occupy his position. Now, there'll be questions. Now, the questions I do have about this are the same questions that you probably have, but let's try and see if we can attempt to answer them. Out of those players that I've mentioned, who do you actually choose to fit in that role? Now, as much as I love Ricardo Carafiori, and as good as we know that he is a centre-back naturally, I wouldn't want him to play that role. And hear me out on this one. I wouldn't want him to play that role or to replace Gabriel Magahlaes for one simple reason. Not because he's not good enough as a defender, or it has nothing to do with, his capability as a centre-back, It has to do with one element. He's the kind of defender that likes to adventure so high up in the pitch. Now, given that for Arsenal he's predominantly played at left back, where he has oftentimes a lot of leeway and freedom to go up front, invert in midfield, and explore his options. We've seen him time and again. You remember the game against West Ham. He hit the base of the upright in the first half. You remember there's a game. What was the game? Was it away to... I'm trying to remember. The game in which he scored and he had his goal cancelled out for offside. But he has that in him to always venture, up front. Now, and remember, by manner of structure with which Arsenal does deploy themselves, or with how they play, or with how they apply themselves, is depending on the opponent. Usually, if they are being dominant on the ball, which in many cases they can be, you have Yurian Timber adventure further forward to help Bukayo Saka and whoever is playing in that number 10 role to sort of to do the overloads within that right wing. And then to the left, you have the left back, inverting in midfield to try and provide cover, but also sometimes advancing in that sort of overlap or sort of triangle that would create, between the left winger, which is sometimes Leandro Trossard or Gabriel Martinelli, and then to be joined by the number 8, the left-sided, a midfielder, quote unquote, the number 8 of Arsenal, which is oftentimes Declan Rice. So for them to create that triangle, that means he's often further exploring forward. That means the two centre backs in William Saliba and predominantly Gabriel Magahlaes, they also push up front, but those two have a manner in which they operate. They know usually they're not too far off each other, and yet Carafiori is the kind of player that is bound to leave you and adventure further forward. Now, one would argue that while he gets to do that, the number 6 should be on the watch to sort of see that he's gone forward and for him to pull back. Let's not kid ourselves. As much as we've talked about the fluidity of Arsenal, and how when the fullbacks go up front, usually you have this new dimension where if the ball is still with the centre backs in William Saliba and Gabriel Magahlaes, Declan Rice drifts to the left side and Martin Zubimendi drifts to the right. Martin Zubimendi is not a centre back, so do not expect him to do centre back roles. You know, he comes in those positions to pick the ball and carry it forward. Declan Rice, he's capable of playing as a centre back. That pretty much we know. But also, remember, he's the most adventurous midfielder Arsenal have in terms of going forward for a deploying midfielder. In other words, he often has that leeway to go back and forth, more like a pendulum ball, oscillating between the offense and the defense. So, for Arsenal to limit their vulnerability, especially coming against a team that they will be facing in Tottenham Hotspur, who could be welcoming back Mohamed Kudus, whose pace we know pretty well, who could be with Brennan Johnson. We know his pace on the ball. We saw what Matthias Stells did to Man United just before the international break. For Arsenal to maintain a level of security, I think that's where you omit Ricardo Carafiori. But he is capable of playing in that role. Now, that takes me to option number 2 in terms of naturality. That's Pierre Hincap. Now, we've only seen Pierre Hincap in one game being played as a centre-back to the left side of the defense. That was in Arsenal's 2-0 victory against Brighton and Hove Albion in the fourth round of the EFL Cup. That was his first game. He played alongside Christian Mosquera. Of course, both were playing together for the first time in that kind of partnership, and they had their struggles at the start of the game. So, whereas Hincap, by his own pedigree, when you take your rear view mirror to what he was able to do in the German Bundesliga, you wouldn't question his abilities. But where you get to question whether it would be a suitable partnership is because it's not played with William Saliba before. That partnership has not played before, So there will be concerns on communication, on understanding. Partnerships are so important. JFT says, hello to you too, my brother. Good to have you on the broadcast. Kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if it's your first time here. So, when you assess it in that manner, it's a risk, but one that eventually they'll have to take. So we've seen that with Ricardo Carafiori, it's a risk. We've seen what makes it a risk, even though he's a left-footed centre-back. Boss Royal. Hi, Boss Royal. Good, always a pleasure to be with you. You guys keep changing names, your handles for fun, literally. So you confuse me, but it's a pleasure to have you back, my brother, Boss Royal. Thank you so much. So we've seen why it's a risk to use Carafiori in that Gabriel Magahlaes role. We've seen the risk with playing there Pierre Hincap. In other words, for Pierre Hincap, he's a bit of an unknown quantity in the context of playing alongside William Saliba or in the context of being a mainstay in that Arsenal backline. Then, what options does that leave us with? 2 other options in Christian Mosquera and Urian Timber. Now, Christian Mosquera has played there before. And if anything, you say no YouTube changes. No, YouTube changes the names to our Google accounts. Well, basically, my point, every time you amend your Google account, that's what happens. It reflects back on the site. I do not know why they've done that. Well, hopefully we'll get accustomed to it, but it is what it is. So, Christian Mosquera has played there before. We've seen him in a partnership with William Saliba before. He's looked comfortable on the ball. He's he has the pace. He has the aerial prowess. We've seen him struggle. We saw him struggle in the game against Newcastle to the extent that he had to be withdrawn at halftime. But I do not want to use that one game where he didn't look good, out of all the other games where he's looked good, to pass judgment to say that he's not capable. So he's very, very capable of fitting that role. In other words, out of the other two, I think Mosquera gets ahead of the other two in Carafiori and Hincap, ahead in as far as replacing Gabriel Magahlaes goes. But if all those options, all those three options are not validated or are not in consideration, then Julian Timber, who, by the way, is currently in action for Netherlands in the World Cup qualifiers as they play in their game against Lithuania, where they are leading by goal to nil at halftime. That goal was scored by Tijan Rienders. Julian Timber can be called upon to play in that role, because we know, like I've told you, he plays across the entire back four, and I wouldn't have any worries whatsoever wherever you may put him to play. In a game, in as far as the back is concerned, he's good with his feet. He's quite energetic, very, very physical guy. He's not the tallest. I think probably Julian Timber is the shortest defender Arsenal have, and that is without consideration for Miles Lewis Kelly, because we know naturally he's a midfielder. We know that naturally he's a midfielder, and but Mikel Arteta introduced him at left back, and that's where we've known him predominantly. So Arsenal fans, do not be too worried about Gabriel Magahlaes, because for me those are the reasons. You have built that kind of squad. Similarly, if we were to draw comparisons, when you go to a team like Manchester City, when you look at their centre backs, they have Ruben Diaz, Joško Vardiol, Nathan Ake, John Stones, Akushanov. That's 5 defenders. You know why they have all those? So that if their primary defenders in Ruben Diaz and John Stones, if any of them is absent, they can call upon Joško Vardiol. We saw him in that game against Liverpool, playing as a centre back, had a very, very decent game. Should he not be available? Nathan Ake is there. Kushanov is there. Remember, this one was signed in January, 2025. He was among the 4 players that were signed by Manchester City at the time. It was Vardiol, Victor Reis, Omar Mamosh, and the other was Nico Gonzalez in January 2025, in that January transfer window. So they do have options when you go to a team like Chelsea. Now, when you look at a team like Chelsea, they have Benoit Badiashile, Tosin Aderabio, Trevor Chalobah, Joshua Achepong, Levi Colwill, Wesley Fofana. Of course, their best centre-back pairing would be Wesley Fofana and Levi Colwill. But because Levi Colwill is out with a knee injury, that's where you get Trevor Chalobah to play alongside Wesley Fofana. We've seen Benoit Badiashile play alongside Tosin Aderabio. We've seen, those are all options. That's the reason as to why teams build squads, to have options, so that when your key starters are absent through injury or whatsoever, or suspension, you have a group of players that can come and fill the void. They have Jorel Hato. Yes, he's predominantly played as a left back, but we know that he's a centre back, or he can play as a centre back, a left-sided centre back. So Chelsea equally have the numbers as we've enlisted them. Go to a team like Newcastle. They have Steven Botman, they have Dan Ban, they have Malik Theo, they have what's his name? Fabian Shah, they have Jamal Lascelles, Although this is a composition of players that can play in that centre-back role, so that if Steven Botman is absent, we know that Malik Theo will play alongside Fabian Shah. That kind of squad building. Go to Man United. Harry Maguire, Lenny Yoro, Aiden Heaven, Lisandro Martinez, Matas Delit. All these are guys that have been enlisted as centre backs within that team. should they be missing any of their starters or any of their star players, then they have figures to call upon. But like I said at the preamble, that Arsenal's backup options in the respective positions of defense, majority of them would start ahead in many of these teams. Because besides Levi Colwill and Wesley Fofana, I do not think that Chelsea have a centre back that is better than Nkapi, that is better than Christian Mosquera. Now, Tosin Aderabio has a seniority. He's about 28 years of age. But on paper, when you look at the kind of game he plays, he's not outstanding. He is good, but he's not outstanding. Maybe Trevor Chalobah could come in the conversation. But the way we've enlisted Arsenal's options in Carafiori, Hincapi, Mosquera, and Timber, because if Arsenal were to play Timber in that position of Gabriel Magahlaes, Ben White is available to take on the right back role. So all those Arsenal defenders would start in majority of the other, in possibly 18 or 17 of the other Premier League teams. And we're talking about backups in the different roles. Of course, Timber is a mainstay, given that he starts at right back, But that's how good a squad Arsenal do have. So, dear Arsenal fans, please do not be worried about Gabriel Magahlaes. Only be worried about how long he will be out in the context of what it means in the grand scheme of the season. But for purposes of the interim, I think you should have no doubts whatsoever in the capabilities of the backup players that you do have at your disposal. Remember, Arsenal only okayed the move for Jakub Kivio to FC Porto, initially on loan, when they were guaranteed of securing a deal for Pierre Hincapi. In other words, they deemed him a good enough replacement for Jakub Kivio, a player that they had developed, I think, for the last 2.5 years into a very physical, capable centre-back, 25 years of age, Jakub Kivio, the Polish international. So, dear Arsenal fans, trust that you do have the options. Trust that these options have been prepared over a certain period of time, that for such eventualities, that when you come in a game as big as the North London Derby, as big as the subsequent game against Bayern Munich, as big as the subsequent game against Chelsea for Arsenal, that you do have the tools, you do have the manpower at your disposal to contend with all these issues. So, will Gabriel Magahlaes be missed? Obviously, without a doubt. But do Arsenal have sufficient options to provide cover? The answer is to the affirmative, and a very firm answer to the affirmative. Do let me know what your thoughts are on that topic, down in the comment section. I'll be reading your comments. Now, quickly, going back to, let's go to Riyadh's submission. He said Celtic and Rangers should join the Premier League. I mean, I do not think that is going to happen, but I do not think it would be a bad thing. I think it would be a good thing to further strengthen them. The question is then, what do you do with the Scottish League? Or what do you do with the other teams? Financially, they're not the strongest. A lot of Premier League teams are better than them. And even some teams in the Championship are better than them financially. But I think they'll be capable of competing in the Premier League. I do not think they will compete and win it or compete to win it. But in terms of not being relegation candidates, they have those capabilities. And maybe given a period, over the course of a period of time, they'll grow into the giants that they are domestically within Scotland. We know that Celtic has been a constant feature in the UEFA Champions League by the virtue of constantly winning the Scottish Premier League. We know Rangers have been there. They've now been playing the UEFA Europa League. And they have it in them. They do have it in them. Is it going to happen? I'm not convinced so. I think maybe part of the reason as to why you make that suggestion is because of the likes of Swansea, the likes of Cardiff from Wales, who decided to join, the English Premiership, and they do play in the Sky Bet Championship as well. So that's how I would look at it. That's how I would want to look at it. Meanwhile, let's go into the World Cup qualifiers, the games that are ongoing. As we speak, Germany are 4-0 up against Slovakia. Nick Voltmada on target, Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané, as well as, Leroy Sané with the brace, Nick Voltmada and Serge Gnabry are the other goal scorers, with a brace of assists from Florian Wirtz, Leon Goretzka, and Joshua Kimmich for Voltmada. Now, this takes me to Florian Wirtz. The Julian Nagelsmann, not too far back, was speaking about Florian Wirtz, and he was saying he's not worried, very talented player. It's Liverpool that needs to fix the house. Then Donnelly has the goal for Northern Ireland, who are leading up against Luxembourg by 0-0. Then Malta and Poland, that game is 1-1 at halftime, while Netherlands are still 1-up against Lithuania in the 48th minute. The second half has resumed. After 47 minutes, Czech Republic or Czechia are leading by 5-0 against Gibraltar, while Serbia Montenegro are leading Croatia by 2-1. The 2018 losing finalists, I don't know, could be on the losing end tonight, but we'll wait and see what the final results will be, perhaps by tomorrow morning. Then, that's the gist of the qualifiers. Do let me know if you have divergent views or otherwise. What are you looking forward to? Are you looking forward to the under-17, World Cup round of 16 fixtures? Is your country still in? Are they still participating, or they are one of the teams that have already been knocked out, that have already been sent packing? So whatever the case is, do let me know down in the comment section, and we will engage further. Then okay, I was trying to look at something and see if there's been an update to that effect. But looks like that's not the case. Anyways, we'll leave that at that. I want to say thank you for every single one of you that has been part of tonight's broadcast. JFT, aka Boss Royal, Riyadh, Karatik Ready, then who else? Ali, Saima, and every single one of you that has been part of tonight's podcast. Those who liked, those who didn't do a thing, those who submitted in your comments, those who didn't do either of those things, we do appreciate you a great deal. To our new community members, like I said, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you join us. It's very, very rewarding to see that many of you are joining the community as we continue to grow. Like I've said, meanwhile, Spain are in action tomorrow, and they remain one of the teams, I think, one of the other teams that are yet to... Okay, just a comment from our broadcast, I think from the morning, Alex was saying Alex Adinaitwe, was saying that Thomas Tuchel has done well during the World Cup qualifiers for England. I'm no England fan, but can't wait to see how he plays his cards at the World Cup. Looks like he and I are looking forward to the same thing. We can't wait to see how he does apply his team come to the main event of the tournament. But like I said, action for the qualifiers continues tomorrow. Kosovo will be up against Switzerland. Sweden will take on Slovenia. Belarus will be up against Greece. Scotland will take on Denmark. Bulgaria will be up against Georgia. Spain will take on Turkey. I was telling you about Spain. Spain is the other team that are yet to concede a single goal. Looks like Luis de la Fuente is doing a very, very tremendous job with this Spanish national team. 5 games played, 5 games won, 19 goals scored, 0 conceded, 15 points. And in second place is Turkey with 12 points, 15 goals scored, 10 goals conceded, giving them a positive 5 only. So that means the game tomorrow, expect Turkey to concede by hook or crook. But Turkey will be up against Spain. Then Austria will be up against Bosnia-Herzegovina, while Romania will be up against San Marino. Then Belgium will take on Liechtenstein, while Wales will be up against North Macedonia in the other World Cup qualifiers. That's for tomorrow. Then Iraq will be up against United Arab Emirates over there in the Asian Cup 2017. Sorry, in the Iraq and UAE game is that's in the World Cup qualifiers. Then for the Asian Cup qualification 2027, Timor Leste will be up against Tajikistan, while the Maldives will be up against Philippines. In case of, for those of you that need to know, then Lebanon will be up against Brunei. Yemen will take on Bhutan. Then Hong Kong will be up against Singapore. Bangladesh will take on India. Sri Lanka will be up against Thailand, while Turkmenistan will be up against Chinese Taipei. There. Then Pakistan will take on Syria. Afghanistan will be up against Myanmar. Nepal will take on Malaysia. That's for the Asian Cup 2027 qualifiers. So in case you have any interest in those games, do not miss out on that action. Anyways, guys, I think it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Allow me to wish you a blessed night. Let's link up again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. East African time. Bye-bye and stay blessed. See you.